Okay, hello everyone. I'm Dorothy and I thank you for joining today's sharing session. So like I have been explaining to people at the beginning of Symbiosis events, it's not, the sharing sessions, it doesn't equate to like a workshop. It's more like just a chill hangout. And then we talk about our processes, together with people who love art, or you maybe like stationery, you love colors, so it's just a time to build community, to meet your friends across the globe, and just to see what's happening, what are other people doing, right, with calligraphy, with art. So it's a very chill session. Just feel free to ask your questions in chat, or if you have questions, when I say any questions, you can just unmute and we can talk to each other. So today I'm going to share with you about Batik-inspired things that I have been exploring. Let me share the presentation slide. And okay, so you should be seeing this presentation on your screen. So what you're seeing here is me attempting to do a piece of batik, and I have it right here in front of me. It's a lily bouquet, and then if you come really close, you can see there's a little black cat hiding here, and then there is a little brown ginger cat. You see the eyes? Because whenever I buy flowers, they will be in it. They will be hiding, biting the leaves, smelling the flowers. It's really cute when the cats interact with the flowers. So I felt that I wanted to capture this. So this is the batik medium that I use when it is cloth. I buy this from the art shops, and they come in mainly primary colors, or at the very most, just the first secondary colors. Then you just use them to mix your own. It's a liquid kind of medium. And then there is a batik fixer that you use. So for traditional batik, it is a technique where we use wax to create a resist on the cloth. Okay, so we use traditional tools such as this one. It's called a chanting, but it's spelled C-A-N-T-I-N-G. So Imelda will be very familiar, yes? Because Indonesia is the motherland of batik. And some of the best developed techniques, the most beautiful art, it comes out of Indonesia, and the very, very talented batik artists. So what happens is you will see that there is like a reservoir here. So we fill this reservoir with melted wax, and then there's a little tiny spout. So out of the spout, the wax is released, and then on the cloth, we draw the outline. So we cover it with the wax that flows out of the spout. And then it creates a resist, so that when we dye the cloth, or if we paint on the cloth, whatever is covered by the wax, it doesn't absorb the colors. So, and this process is done in layers. So we resist, with layers of wax. On top of the colored areas, we can add further layers of wax so that it continues to resist. So we keep darkening the colors and adding layers that way. So this piece, maybe it has maybe 5 or 6 layers, but there can be very elaborate pieces, with I don't know, hundreds of layers if they wish. And then if you want to, sometimes in between, we will take out the wax, and then start over again to create more layers, other colors, okay? So this is an example of Indonesian batik. The patterns are mainly, I think, geometric. So you may not, if you are not familiar with the Muslim inspired art, they generally do not, they don't have 3D representations, because they are not, they don't believe in doing 3D representations. To them, it's like idolatry, So most of the art is geometric, you will realize, and it's very, very beautiful. So there's a lot of themes, there are a lot of motifs. In Indonesia, there's so many provinces, so many islands, and every province, every island, they have their own coloring, they have their own motifs. So if you go to Indonesia and then you have this thought, I want to collect all the all the possible, variations. No, you are going to go bankrupt because there's too many variations, too many provinces. So this motif, it is very distinct in the sense that there is this kind of like shapes, like the circular shapes and then the longish shapes. And it's made to be representative of parang. Parang is like a cleaver, So this motif, they use it to represent security, safety, and power. So, okay, the Indonesian batik motifs are very philosophical in nature. There is a lot of meaning attached to the symbols. And then sometimes they are used as talisman. So if I wear this motif of batik, I will feel like I'm protected somehow. Okay, so there's this kind of understanding. And it's very interesting how they imbue their symbols with so much meaning. So this is another common motif you will see in batik, kawung. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's actually derived from the sugar palm design, one of the products, I think. So this motif is associated with power, with wisdom, with justice. And you will notice the coloring is like, there's a lot of browns and blacks and gold and blue. Okay, so mainly that kind of coloring. This one is representative of love and happiness. So sometimes they wear this at weddings, and certain kind of motifs are for like the parents of the bride and groom, and then certain kinds are for the bride and the groom, with different meanings and representations. So yeah, this one is, if you go really close into the image, you can see they are like representation of stars and sun. It symbolizes enduring love. I think there is like a kind of story behind it. I read was some queen, had a straying husband who is the king, and then she wanted to show her devotion to him, so she started to draw these batik patterns. And then when he saw how devoted she was, then he fell in love with her again. So something like that. So this is where behind this image, there's all these culture and stories, very fascinating. Okay, so what's interesting about batik is that it's a very, very flexible concept, where you abstract something into symbols, and then you use that technique of resist and layering to create patterns on the fabric. So when the Chinese immigrants came, they applied the concept to their own symbols. So you will see on the top, on the left side, the red image, that would be the like Chinesey kind of cloud symbols. And then the one at the bottom, you might be able to see like a dragon's tail in black and white. Do you see that? Yeah. So, the dragon flying among the clouds and so. And then when the Europeans came, they started to, use the batik techniques, applying it to their own kind of, I guess, symbols that represent their culture, birds and butterflies and flowers. And I think there are even things like Alice in Wonderland representations on batik. Very, very interesting. So you can see that the idea of batik is very much, it's very flexible and it's widely applicable. And then, okay, besides Indonesia, of course, there is also Malaysia, which is a neighboring country to me. All these are countries that are nearby to me in Southeast Asia. So Malaysian batik differs from Indonesian batik in the sense that the colors are very vibrant. Indonesian batik, let me bring you just back. Indonesian batik, the coloring is like, quite neutral and very earthy tones. Whereas Malaysian batik can be very colorful, blues and greens and reds, and there's a lot of flowers. Nature is depicted in flowers. And of course, if you have traveled on Singapore Airlines, you will see the uniform, the sarong kebaya that they have. It's actually a batik technique or batik-inspired motifs that is abstracted from local flowers, okay, and flora and fauna. Actually, no fauna, just flora. Yeah. Okay, so generally, I think that in many, many cultures all over the world, you will find the idea of resist and dyeing fabrics are very common. So I think that Egypt have theirs, and of course India and so forth. So what I was interested in also is to see, I visited this Batik museum in Penang. This image that you see here is a Batik artist, and that is a self-portrait that he created. It was so fascinating to see how they applied the Batik techniques to all kinds of different expressions. So it's when you look at the Chinese brush painting on the right, you think that it is a brush painting, but really it is an application of the Batik technique. So when I saw that, my heart leapt. And then the one on the right is like an impressionistic painting, but it is actually done using the Batik technique. It's so beautiful. Yeah, fascinating. So of course, all these are very inspiring. If you go to Southeast Asia, please go and find a Batik museum, and then, or join a Batik class where you can make, scarves and so on. So it's fascinating. And then here's like sort of abstract, an abstract form that is also created by Batik. This artist, Sarkazi Syed, he is a Singaporean, and he went to Indonesia to study the Batik arts. Recently, he passed away, I think a year or two ago. So this is one of his very famous mother and child series. And look at that. Look at that. Woohoo! Oh. It's Batik, okay, guys. So amazing. Yeah. And just a little bit of story behind Sarkazi Syed. He was studying Batik at the time when, there's that traditional form, but then he belongs to the new school where abstractions and so forth. And then he has a lot of children, I think, and they would be basically living on the artist's pay, which I think a lot of us understand it is a hard life. The wife had to work to support, so he's always thanking his wife everywhere he goes, like, oh, I thank my wife for being supportive. Yes. So he would he loves to travel. So he loved to travel. So he would go to, say, for example, some beach in California. And then he would set up his shop right by the beach, and sell his pieces, his Batik pieces right there on the street. And that was what pays for his travel. He would go to, Indonesia, then he would sell his art, and he pays for his tickets there, and he pays for his ticket back. But now it's very hard to find his works, at the street art kind of price, of course. But hey, that's how he started. So wow, look at that. That is also Batik. So it's a very beautiful expression of light and dark, exploration of shadows and so forth. So this is just okay. Here is an Australian. Okay, no, let me think. Not Australian. Is she from Netherlands? Maybe Netherlands. So she also began to study Batik in Indonesia, and then she has some portraits that she did in Batik technique, and also some abstractions. So I don't know whether you can see how she created these, motifs. There's some like maybe leaves and maybe some sea creatures. I think this is an underwater kind of representation. She calls it krill. So what for me is very interesting is that people can take this very traditional craft and art form and translate it into other kinds of, representations and make it very much their own. Okay, so I was, why I have interest in Batik is also because it is, growing up is a part of my culture. I've always enjoyed the colors and the textures of Batik. And my father's adopted mom, she was a Peranakan, and in their culture, they wear Batik a lot. So it has always been kind of a part of my background growing up. And I remember my mom used to make, these quilts for us as we were growing up, blankets. She will sew these quilts for us, and they would be pieces of batik fabric, so that batik always gives me a feeling of like something that is very familiar and comforting. And then a couple of Christmases before my mom passed, she made these little dogs. I forget to bring and show you, but little cloth dogs, and they're all made of batik. So all the sisters were like, oh, this is mine, that is mine, and we all have a few pieces of the batik dogs. So anyway, so when I began to explore, this is one of my pieces, and I'll tell you the story of how it came to be before we plunge into later our own batik project. Okay, hang on, let me look for it. So this is my process book, unlike Judy's very beautiful one. Mine is just pieces. So what happened was I was exploring, just textures and colors. And then I put it together, and in one of my mentoring sessions with Eleanor, she saw this and she said, you know what, Dorothy, this could be a piece on its own, right? You can arrange it and you can write over it and it will be a piece of batik. So I thought, okay, yeah, maybe I can explore. So what happened was there is this
Dorothy, can you stop sharing so that we can see your process?
Oh, yeah.
I really want to see.
Okay, let me just stop sharing. Hang on. All right, stop share. Okay, actually I can show you on the visualizer. Okay, I share my visualizer.
That will work, yeah.
Actually, thanks for reminding me. Okay, so yeah. So this is let me see that this is the correct direction for you. Yeah, so I was exploring, the scriptures, Bible verses that I'm meditating and thinking about, because as I was going through my cancer treatment, I had breast cancer discovered in July. So as I was going through the cancer treatment, there were certain Bible verses that I felt was like very encouraging for me. So as I do my calligraphic practice, I'm writing those verses over and over again. And so there is this one that says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through fires, you will not burn, and so on. So I began to think, okay, batik, you abstract concepts into symbols, right? So I have these like fire and these water symbols. I imagine myself going through them and not being harmed. Then, this one is like, I thought about river stones, like creating a bridge that I can walk on safely, passing through the waters unharmed. And then I thought about the colors, like volcano explosions, so reds and orange, yellows, and blues, so very strong colors. So as I was exploring these, they're actually in 3 pieces, 3 separate pieces. And then when Eleanor saw it, she said, you know what, you can make this into a piece. So I began to work on samples. So here is, and then I did like what Judith said that Marina told her, we should do, is to take a picture and then you can work it to death on Photoshop, or you can print and then you can write over it, you can make a mess, and I began to explore also, this is Chinese rice paper. So I began to explore different ways to use the Chinese rice paper, because when I can paste this over things to create texture, and the colors underneath shows through. So these are just some of my explorations. Yeah. Okay, let me just put this away.
Alright, slow down a bit. We barely have time to see the rice paper before you took it away.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, and it disappeared.
Rice paper. Yeah, so they're actually very beautiful Chinese rice paper. They kind of like very translucent. Can you hear the crackling sound? Yeah, they're very translucent, but they hold the whole ink so well. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. As a medium, it's just fascinating. And let me see if I can show you anything else. Yeah. Okay, so this is another
paper that you use to practice the Chinese character with the blush?
Yes, the same paper, yes.
Oh, okay.
So this is another exploration that I did with batik concept, so there's like, again, there's the water and then the fire and so on. And then I got to feeling like, okay, I was trying textura, it didn't quite work. And then when I looked at this this thing here that I made, the one where, oh, sorry. Let me just bring you back. All these are my practices. Okay, when I looked at this thing that I did, and also the piece that you saw, okay, maybe I can show you the actual piece. Sorry about it.
I think the thing that's really, really interesting to see is just the amount of color in all these works, and just showing all the different variations that she went through, right? I think that's the thing that always strikes me when I see her process. Yeah.
I'm back. Okay, so when I looked at this piece, I kind of felt that it was too linear in the sense of you can see that, okay, here's 1/3, here's 1/3, here's 1/3. And then I kind of thought, I don't know whether I like this. What happens if it wasn't, so linear? What happens if it was more like circular? What if I can make it into one organic sort of like design? So where is my one organic design? So here. So I thought, what if I did, like the fire, the water into one, like a round thing, what would happen then? So I began to explore this, and then it became, this, which I love. Yeah. So this is my exploration of trying to use a Batik-inspired techniques. There's all these like bits of fire, there's all these bits of water. And I imagine, I'm thinking about whether I should write over it. So the words will kind of like go in a swirl, and somewhere in the middle is me. I feel like I'm surrounded by all these things, and I come away unharmed. I come away unscared. And actually you can see that the colors are very, very strong and very vibrant. And perhaps that kind of reflects what I was going through at the time. All the intense feelings, when you go through the chemo and they're injecting the poison into you, and that you go to the internet and you read all these horror stories about how strong the medicine is, and how some people really suffer from the side effects, but when I went through it, I came out of it really unharmed. I had minimal side effects. I feel like I went through the fire and I was not burned. Literally, this is how I felt. But the feelings were very intense. And whenever I picked colors, somehow I gravitated towards all these very strong and vibrant colors. And I remember telling Eleanor and Nicole, who is she's a co-mentee with me under Eleanor. So I feel that it's very gaudy. I don't like it, because normally I would not choose these kind of colors. And if I want to hang it on the wall, it's very, the colors are so striking, right? It's very hard to match with the furniture or something, And why would I want to put such a big gaudy piece right in front of me? But then they were telling me, Dorothy, it looks so vibrant, it's so full of life. And I mean, for somebody who is going through a debilitating experience, this is really so strong. It's like a real pushback, so this is how they perceived it. And I thought, okay, well, that's a good perspective. And something that is unique about batik is that it has that texture of craquelature, and it comes from, do you see all these black lines, all these black textured marks, that is created. So what we do is we paint the whole cloth with wax, then we crinkle it up so that it creates all these creases, and the broken surface of the wax, there'll be like cracks in between, fissures. Then we paint it with black, and then that creates the impression, of all these fissures inside the batik cloth. So I'm not able to, I wasn't ready to crinkle this paper. So what I did to create some of this, water running away is that I used a straw, like a drinking straw, and I blow on it with black paint. Okay, so I use a straw and I just blow and cause the water to run across in the pattern that I want. So it's a bit of a cheat. Okay, so I got to thinking that this is my fear not peace. I got to thinking that I showed you just now the parang motif, with the big blobs and the long thin things and the circles. And I thought, okay, actually it reminds me of calligraphy. It reminds me of letter forms. So maybe I can explore using letter forms as a motif, So this is one of the explorations. And how I did this was the things, the white in the background. Let me try to see if I can focus a bit. Yeah. Okay, so all these white would be, I will paint it with mask using a dip pen. So it's all in reverse now. And then this lettering, I use a permanent mask mixed with black ink. And then I wrote over this. And then after that, I spritz with water. So it created all these, it flooded the paper. And then when everything was dry, I rubbed off all the white mask. So it created this kind of like effect. It's actually very, very simple to do. It looks complicated, but it's very easy. Yeah. So when I put this idea and this idea together, then it became this. Yeah, so I thought, okay, what if I were able to combine the coloring here with the idea here, and then what would it look like? And so this was the piece that came about because of that. So these are some of my kind of like, brain going in different directions. Maybe I just show you the test piece that I did the very, very first time I tried. Oops, sorry. The very first time I tried to do the ink spatter thing, it came out looking like this. So the final piece is a lot more measured and controlled. Yeah. So yes, my show and tell. Do you have any questions for me so far? Have you any questions?
No questions.
Looking at this all day, Dorothy.
Oh, thanks.
Dorothy,
Okay,
what paper are you working on that allows you this flexibility?
I'm just using watercolor paper, just a 300 GSM, because it can absorb water, and I love to just let the water do all the mixing. So I will flood my paper, and the paper will, warp and all that, but I don't really mind. I just put it under a stack of books and let it flatten out by itself. So I wanted to.
What do you use for media?
I use acrylic or, mainly I use acrylic because I want to write on top of it. I mean, you can use watercolor too, but then you couldn't write on it because when you write on the watercolor, it kind of smudges. But acrylic allows me to write on top of the colors.
So you're writing with, so you're doing let's say the drawings or your calligraphy, you're using wax to seal the surface.
No, I use masking fluid to seal.
Okay, that's masking.
Masking fluid, yes. I know some of you really hate to use masking fluid.
But tell us, what is the brand that works so nicely?
Okay, I use Winsor & Newton. I like it. There's Dale & Roney, but sometimes Dale & Roney causes my paper to tear as I'm removing. So I try to use Winsor & Newton. Yeah.
We have a question. Are you using hot press or cold press watercolor paper?
It doesn't quite matter actually. If you want the texture, then you use the textured one. Yeah, for me, either one is fine. I do like the textures that I get. And the thing about batik, just doing layers is that you never know what is going to happen until you remove all the masks. So there is always the element of surprise. Sometimes the colors mix, sometimes they overlay, sometimes there is like, you can see the translucence under, and then sometimes it just doesn't. So yeah, so there's always
There's
that surprise. Yes.
one more
Yes, yes.
question. How long can you keep the Winsor and Newton masking fluid on the paper? Because I know sometimes if you leave it for too long, it will catch the paper.
Okay, so what I have found, right? I don't know whether for you it will be the same, but you know, I use these little sauce dishes to keep my when you go to like a sushi restaurant or whatever, then they have these little sauce dishes. So I use it to keep little bits of masking fluid so I don't like damage the big bottle of fluid that I have. So what I do is I put water. I dilute it a little bit with water and also a little bit of dish soap. Very, very little bit. So this seems to help me to be able to remove it after like days. Yeah. And the other trick that I learned is that when you are tearing away the mask, you don't do it, you don't pull it up like this you don't do like this, but you must go very close to the paper. You pull it off as close to the paper as possible. Then it doesn't, yeah, or you can rub. The other thing is, you know, I have this very ugly, this is you know, the remains of the rubbed off mask. You know, I just keep them, I don't throw them away. And then it just accumulates into this growing ball of, I'm pretty sure that at night when I sleep, they're all making babies, you know, so at night it's growing.
Well, it's your eraser in a way.
Yes, yes. So I use this to gently, you know, rub off the mask, and it's very, the feeling is nice, very squishy. So I wanted to tell you something else. When you go to buy batik cloth, sometimes you will find them like really, really cheap, very cheap. And it's very cheap because it's not actually batik. They just print on it. You know, so the printed ones, you can see that when you turn it on the underside, the color is not there. You see the color only stay on the surface. So that's how you know that it is a printed batik versus what is a hand-painted batik. So a hand-painted batik, back and front, the color penetrates through. And hand-painted batiks will be very, very expensive. Or hand-dyed batik. So it can be, you know, in the hundreds. So this piece of silk scarf that I have is actually I think it's hand-painted batik on silk. And just a piece like this is I don't know, 100 over Sing dollars. Yeah. You can see that the color is just very, very even. It's very beautiful. And I love it. I think I bought it on sale. Okay, don't look so shocked at me, Julie. I bought it when it was on sale. What do you want to see?
No, because your camera is vertical now. So when you're showing things, keep to the center.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay, yes, thanks. So yeah, so you can see the batik motifs. There is that, you know, very geometric shapes. And then there's all these dots, which are very typical of batik patterns. And then there is this border that I think you can see sort of a semi, like a parang motif with the straight line.
Dorothy, are you showing on the document camera?
Oh, I see. I'm so sorry, guys. I need to share screen. What am I doing? Thanks. Okay, so here you go. So this is the motif case. It's very beautiful. And both the front side and the back side, they are similarly intense in terms of the color.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, if you are into calligraphy, right, I think you can imagine how these could be letter forms, right? You can do the experimental letter forms that, you know, like Marina has been teaching us, anti-space, or even like Judith, you know. I tried to do one with the Monstera that we did. I mean, it was ugly, so I'm not going to show you. but the idea is just beautiful. So I think that here there is at least two layers. There is the color below, the lighter color. Then there is this slightly lighter red, and then there's a darker red. So this would be like a 3-layer batik application. And of course, they can do many, many more layers to make it more elaborate. Yeah. So normally batik is done on cloth, but for me, I was interested to see how the techniques can be adapted and applied to paper. So what I have, let me just show you again, back to this. So besides the other works that I showed you, these are just some of my initial explorations. Okay, so I have here a rice paper that I wrote with walnut ink stuck onto it. So you can see a little bit of the colors showing behind. Then this one is like many, many layers of color built up. So it always begins with the lightest color. And then this one, I kind of wanted to do a bit of shiny. I don't think you can see shiny, but there's a bit of shine to it. Also many layers. So the thing about batik is that there's a lot of waiting for the paint to dry. So you just sit there and RD, you understand, right? When you're waiting for your gesso to dry. So there's a lot of that, and hence the hairdryer is useful. Okay, so that is my presentation about batik. So now I'm going to bring you through our project today. Earlier, I have shared our batik sample project. I will share it again for people who just came in. What we're going to do is, what I did to show you is that we can do like a very, very simple design. Oh, and Judith wanted me to tell everybody about the story of this brush. So some of my works I do. Some of the works I do, I use this brush, and it is created from my hair. When I was undergoing treatment, I was losing my hair. So I went to the hairdresser and said, okay, let's take it all off, and then it'll be easier. So she helped me, and then I collected the hair and then made it into like a brush. So it works very well. It holds paint, it's got very good quality, and it's free. I made it myself. Okay, maybe I should centralize this. Yes. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to show you what I did. And okay, some things to note. I have here. You see the bit of yellow in my water is actually dishwashing soap. So I find that, when I use my synthetic brush and I clean it with dishwashing soap, it helps to save it from the masking fluids ravages. Okay. And I also have here a little bar of soap. Before I use the masking fluid, I coat the brush in soap first. And this is a tip that Marina gave me. Thank you. And it seems to help, So I will.
Dorothy, just a heads up. Just a heads up that there's a slight lag with the visualizer. So you might have to slow down a tiny bit. Yeah.
Okay, Ken. Slight lag now. Okay. So I use a synthetic brush. Please do not use your precious fiber, natural fiber brush. Don't, because definitely your brush is going to die a very painful death. So I just use the masking fluid on my watercolor paper, and I do the design. You can do along with me if you have your supplies. So I'm just going to do like a sun, giving out energy, light, whatever. So as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about, stars. And the thing about about batik is that, the edges are very imprecise, and this is part of the charm. So I'm not going to be overly worried. So once that is done, I quickly, wash off the masking fluid so I can keep this brush alive for longer. Yeah. And then I wait for this thing to dry. Very quickly, it will dry. within, I guess, minutes. Are you doing along with me? If you do, then please later tag me, okay? Because I want to see how it's going.
Attempting to.
Attempting? Okay, good. And of course, if you want to, you can calligraph at this stage. So, you can use like your broad edge. All these are possible. You just have to dip them, or you can use your dip pens, which I have here. And again, I'm not going to use my precious, vintage nips. This is just the normal Nicole G. And I realized that masking fluid, even though it's dry, it may have a little bit of sticky feel, so, and sometimes a little bit of sheen. Okay, so more or less, if you didn't like use a lot, like a very thick layer, it should be dry by now, more or less. Just give it a bump more. And actually I have one that is ready here. So when it's dry, it kind of looks like this. Okay. At the next stage, what I will do is for batik, normally the bottom layers, we use the lightest colors so that we can build up the colors as we go. So I have a spritzer here, spritzer. You can see it's just a normal spritzer that used to be near my ironing board, but now it's at my station. So I'm just going to wet it. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to take, this is acrylic paint, just straight from the bottle. I mean, yeah, you can mix it, if you want, but sometimes I just like to mix my colors right on the paper. Okay, because this is not like a painting, so I'm not overly worried about techniques or, whatever. Basically, I want the water to help me blend the colors. So I have a separate jar of water that I use for my non-masking fluid brushes. So masking fluid is with dish soap in it. This one, just clear water for cleaning my brushes. And while the colors are still a bit damp, I can, just add stuff if you want to create effects. So it can be just a flat layer if you want, but or you can add other things to it. Yeah. So when I'm doing this kind of thing, I like for the water to do the mixing for me. I don't like it to be overly, fussy or precise. Like I said, I'm a very messy painter. I think my sister who is watching me right now, she will faint. My sister is in the room. She's a watercolorist. Okay, so maybe a little bit of red. Perhaps. Okay, no particular preference for color. You can decide, how you want. So as the water is very runny still, sometimes I will just, use the flow to create the patterns. And I like it that way because this is one of the pleasure of watercolors, right? Or just very watery. So this could be my first layer, and if I'm happy with it, I let it sit and dry. Or if you are very impatient, like sometimes I am, then the hairdryer comes to play. Okay, you can use the hairdryer to So you will notice that as it dries, the color becomes a lot lighter. It lightens as we go. So once you feel that it is, if you look at it and think, okay, this is, I like it to be this light, then you can move on to your second layer of mask. But we have to wait for it to dry. Okay. Not quite dry yet. I'm doing this in real time so we can do together.
Dorothy, you're already quite fast. I'm still waiting for my masking fluid to dry.
Oh, dry already, Judy. It's dry already. Does it feel a bit sticky?
No, because I was struggling with my applicator, so it took me 3 tries to get it right.
Oh dear, okay. Actually, it can be very imprecise. Don't have to be. Yeah, when you are doing things like these kind of like batik things, you don't have to be so precise because the medium doesn't allow you to be. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you the wax. This is the kind of wax that we use. It's well, when I go to the art shop to buy the batik wax, I think they have already conditioned it. Some beeswax, some paraffin wax, some, they've already mixed it so that there is a certain level of consistency that's suitable for batik. Yeah. So what we do is I will have this like a paraffin tin. I'll put it over a stove and melt this. And then when it becomes a liquid, I can use the chanting to fill the chanting if you were not here. So this is the receptacle. And then this is the spout that the wax flows out of. So we hold it like a pan and then the wax will come up. If you are doing it on cloth, that is. But now that we are doing on paper, actually, if you want, you can use wax too. It's just that later you have to iron to get the wax out of your paper. Okay, more or less dry. So at this point, I can do my second layer of mask. Or I can write, if I want. My second layer can be words. Or it can be just other kind of like the universe design, sun, moon, and stars, and so forth. And because these are just the normal poster nibs, they can withstand the mask without any fear of damaging them. Okay, back to my synthetic brush to add more mask, and then I coat it with soap. That's my mask. Oops. Okay, so feel free to add whatever design that you like, whatever seems meaningful to you, significant. Maybe a butterfly is something meaningful for you, so you can do butterflies or whatever. So now we wait for second layer of mask to dry. This is literally watching paint dry. Kun, you're watching my paint dry. The other way is that you can do multiple pieces at the same time. So while you're waiting for one to dry, you do the other. So, but today I'm just going to leave this be. So whatever I have reserved right now on my second layer of mask, so I wrote the word love here. Can you see the word love? Or you can't?
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can? Okay, okay. So
Yes.
the word love is going to be colored like in the first layer of color, the very light yellow. So when I add the second layer on it, and later when I remove the mask, you will see the word love in a very pale yellow. I know I'm saying the obvious, but okay, I think it should be more or less okay. All right, so now I'm ready for my next layer. So maybe I just want to go to a darker yellow, which I like. So again, with the spritzer.
Dorothy, you're blocking the camera.
Huh?
You're blocking the camera.
I'm blocking the camera.
Mm.
I am. Oh, sorry,
We
sorry.
can see the top of your head.
Oh,
for-
sorry, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Thanks, Judy. Okay, so if you don't like the hard edges, then of course with the spritzer, it comes in and that helps.
I have a little question on the masking fluid.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
also have the Windsor one, and I first used it like maybe 2 years ago when you organized the first online exhibition,
Yes.
and I haven't used it until today, and it
Okay.
looks clotting. Not
Oh,
sure
it's
if
clotted, is it?
still
Oh,
okay.
okay. So I guess it's outlived its lifespan. I don't know that there's any way to refresh masking fluid. Yeah. So I think you have to buy a new
You may
bottle.
add a little bit of water, but
think?
just a little bit. You may add a little bit of water to dilute it, but not
Okay.
so much because then it won't block
Yeah. Yeah.
the other
Okay.
colors.
I actually have a bottle. Of masking fluid where the whole thing actually just, kind of shrank into a lump. So that one I cannot refresh. So you, I think, can see there's like, a bit of things going on with love being blocked in lighter yellow. So I might want to just attune the color a bit. I don't know. Mhm. Maybe. Kun, the other thing that I do sometimes to preserve my medium, right, is I use the cling wrap before I screw on the cap. Somehow it prevents the thing from drying out. So maybe you can try that next time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will try both.
Yeah, can. So I don't know, maybe my second layer. Mhm. All right. So I'm doing this on the fly. I guess if you have your, concept or whatever planned out, then you can, oops, sorry. How is everybody doing?
Attempting to not make a mess on my table.
Okay. Well, okay, so this, what has resulted here is that we have now just 2 layers, 1 layer of mask, 1 layer of color, that second layer of mask, second layer of color, and you can continue to build this up, you know, to make your design more elaborate, more complex. But because, you know, I'm keeping my eye on the clock, and it's right now almost the hour, we are almost to the hour. So I just wanted to show you what happens then when you come to the end. So supposing this is like my finished piece, this one actually has only 2 layers. So I'm going to just, you know, very gently remove the mask. You can do it with your hands, like so, or you can use your eraser. If you have like those rubberized eraser. So this under layer is the color of the paper, is white. But there will be other places where when I take out the mask, you can see that it's got a bit of the yellow underneath. It's not rocket science, you know, but just to show you that it's possible to do this on paper and have that batik effect. So this can be a very easy way to create backgrounds for your writing. Or by itself, yeah, I mean, you can letter into the white spaces, or you can, let me get the camera to focus. Focus, yeah. You can letter into the colored areas, the white areas, into the circle, or your lettering can actually be part of the design. So I think this one is dry, I can remove. I have been able to keep my masking fluid on the paper for like days, you know, before I remove them. So like I was saying, right, when you are removing this, you don't pull it like 90 degrees up from the paper, but you go very close to the paper and then you pull it along the side like this, close to the paper, like this. Doesn't tear at your paper as you're reading. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So sometimes, okay, so this is the piece that together we were working on, and right, the colors are very light. I only use a very light wash. So it's really up to you how you want to develop from here. So I might say, okay, I want to, you know, add something on top of here. So I can continue to add other designs to layer this over. Okay, and it's really very fun just to explore, very therapeutic if you enjoy this kind of thing. Okay, yes. I see Morgan is fanning your piece very happily. Okay, I'm just gonna. So it's possible to, because this is very light, right? I think it's possible to develop this further or to write on top of it. Yeah. Yeah, very nice piece for the table, I guess. All right, put this away. I actually made so many samples just in case, you know, it didn't work out. The one that I wrote a little bit of wobbly saying, es ist schön, dass es dich gibt, is German to say, it's German, it is beautiful that you exist, something like that. it is beautiful. It's wonderful that you exist. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're alive, etc. Yes. Okay, guys, I have come to the end of my sharing, and it's really very, very simple. Nothing, complicated or earth-shaking. But I hope that you have fun. That it was fun.
It was
Can I see
lovely,
what you did?
lovely.
Can I see what you did? Can you show? Oh, Judith has a background with writing. Oh, that is so cute. Oh my goodness. Can shot? Wait, let's screenshot. 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3. Yes. Oh, cool. That's so pretty. The color is very nice. Eric, good job, Margaret. Thanks. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. So, well, do you have any other questions for me? Other questions? Thank
If anyone
you.
has any questions, you can just unmute and just talk directly. to
Yeah,
Dorothy.
yeah, you can. Yeah.
Do you
So
prefer watercolor or acrylic for using this technique?
Using this technique, if I want to write on top of it, I will use acrylic. Yeah, because when I realized that when I use watercolors, and then I use ink on top of the watercolor, then the ink spreads. So if that's not the effect that you don't want your ink to spread, then don't use watercolor. But if you want
But
the ink to spread,
there's something you can do. You can seal the surface with fixative. In that way, if you spray it with fixative, you're sealing that layer, and then you can write on top.
yeah. But Marina, does fixative change? Like, does it turn yellow over time? Because I have some like Eleanor was telling me, some fixatives, they are not archival, so they will turn yellow.
Oh, well, they have to be archival, definitely.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes, Kun, you had a question?
So basically we start from the lightest color first.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, because you are building in layers. Yeah. What other questions have you? Nobody else have questions?
Okay, actually, in your experience, is there a difference between having a very thin line of what works better for you, like very thick lines of masking fluid or like very fine lines? Because I think mine will not come out because the line I used was too thin. Yeah, for masking fluid.
I think it's okay. When I did this piece, right? These lines are very, very thin. They are very, very thin. Yeah, it's actually like
okay.
pen. I use the dip pen with my Nico G nib, and then I draw like flourishes. So it does. I mean, but you have to test the masking fluid to get to a consistent where you can get the lines that you want. So that's why I diluted with water and a little bit of dish soap. Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, the most upsetting thing about masking fluid is that it destroys your brushes, your good brushes. So that's why you buy like those like $1 for 6 kind of brushes. Yeah. And then I feel that using like dip pens or broad edge tools, right, it gives us a lot more options other than brushes, to create those textures. And of course, you can write with a stick, you can write with whatever. But these things are made to hold the medium, right, as we write. So I find that, and I'm familiar with these tools, so that's what I use. Yeah.
But won't it kill your nips? Like,
No,
nips.
no, it doesn't. It just peels right off. Once it's dry, the masking fluid just peels off. Yeah, so it's perfectly fine. So yeah. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me this morning. It's been lovely sharing with you batik-inspired techniques. And oh wait, I'm just going to show you something else. Wait. Oh yeah, how can I forget? Okay, I haven't got a chance to develop this like very much further. But what I started to do was this is like a very famous, the parang pattern, but I started to try to develop it into an alphabet. Yeah, so I'm going to explore further. This is my explorations for the parang designs. And I'm thinking about how I can convert the designs into an alphabet so that I can like make a batik fabric.
Lovely.
Thank you, Marina. Yeah, and it's very fun, very fun and therapeutic. Yes. So these are some of my explorations. Yeah.
Dorothy, if people want to share with you what they made, like which Instagram account do they share?
Oh,
Do they tag you in?
the Dorothy Lim-Chew one. Okay, let me just type it in. Lim is my surname, Chew is my husband's surname. And in Asia, we don't take our husband's names. We can keep our own names, our family names.
Good.
Yeah. That's why I'm known by my surname. Then when I got married, I was thinking, but my husband needs to be represented too. So I added his surname to the back of mine. So I'm Lim-Chew. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank
you,
you,
Dorothy, for
everyone.
sharing.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you.